Welcome to the B Sound Podcast. It is November 12th of 2021, and thank you for being here. We got another week behind us and another one ahead of us. And, I got one topic to talk about. We'll just get right to it. And this was inspired by YouTube taking the thumbs down button out of practice, right? So if you haven't heard about this, YouTube said that in order to protect creators, especially small creators, they're removing the thumbs down button from their website because people are getting ratioed. And what ratio essentially means is like you're getting bombed with dislikes over likes. So the ratio of dislikes is higher than the ratio of likes. And apparently this hurts people's egos and, can cause harm in some way. Now, I don't necessarily think that this solves anything, right? But let's back things up just a little bit. I want to first off say that this podcast is directed towards creators, right? People like you watching this, someone who's a creative person. And the higher purpose of doing this podcast is to help people like you and I, people who are creative and doing creative things. And those creative things, especially on the internet, sometimes come with a price, right? So today's topic is going to be talking about taking criticism. I think it's important, especially as a creator or a creative person, that you're able to take criticism of some kind. And criticism isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's all in the way you look at it. I know a lot of creators who let criticism really get to them. And that's probably not good either. That's the reason why they're taking the thumbs down button off of YouTube, essentially. Or so they say. And maybe it is, maybe it is. But the fact remains that you're going to be criticized in this world, right? In the creative world, no matter what you're doing creatively, if you're a writer, if you are a musician, if you're a video creator, there is a possibility, now bear with me here, there's a possibility that not everyone will like what you do. In fact, you're more likely to just have a niche of people who like what you do and the rest of the people dislike it or don't even care about it. And I think it's important as artists that we recognize that, first of all. But I think that criticism is a good thing, right? It lets you know, like let's say you get a bunch of thumbs down on a video. Let's say you created a video, you get a bunch of thumbs down. Well, that lets you know, hey, maybe I'm not headed in the right direction. There's that Simpsons meme of Principal Skinner where he's like, no, it is the children that are wrong. I'm correct. And it's like, well, maybe you should listen to the children a little bit there, Principal Skinner. That's the whole idea behind that meme. And usually it's not a case of either being wrong. It's just, hey, this is not resonating with a particular audience. And so maybe you don't even care. Like, hey, that's not my audience. It's not resonating with. I'm going to keep doing my thing. And that's fine. But don't let their criticism affect you then. But if it is your audience and you're not reaching your audience correctly, then you should know that, right? And you should, it's okay to wear that on your sleeve and be like, oh, yeah, you know what? I fucked up. I didn't reach my audience in the way I wanted to. I missed this thing or that thing, just depending on what you do. And you take time and you correct it and you let your audience know, hey, I saw the feedback. I'm going to correct what I did, because it's important that you're getting this certain thing out of it. Whatever that may be, whatever your particular niche is. Now, I thought that this was an interesting topic because the band I'm working with right now, Rat Bath, they came to me and said, hey, one of the blogs that did a review on the single that we did together, they had a critique and it really bothered me that what they said, and I was wondering if you could fix something on it and on one of the songs for when we do the album release for that song, because they released it as a single and they're going to go ahead and release it on the album as well. So I asked them, well, can I see the exact criticism they gave? Because I want to know what they're actually criticizing. Is it the instruments? Is it the vocal? Is it the way that it sat in the mix? Is it that they just didn't care for the way things clashed together or the way the soup was made, So I looked at it, and the comment wasn't very helpful at all. It just basically said, I don't like how this sounds. And it's like, well, fine. And that's that's my point is, you have to learn the difference between constructive criticism versus hate or laziness, right? There's some people who are going to criticize you just because they dislike you, and it's just pure hate or just laziness. Like, hey, I don't want to deal with you. You suck. Bye. And you can tell those people because a lot of times they'll leave like a short comment or a snippy thing, and you can tell they didn't even watch the video. They didn't listen to the song, whatever it may be. They just want to spread hate. Well, that's not constructive. That does not help you. But what does help is, you'll get these comments that are really long-winded and really get to the point of something by, the commenter will take a lot of time to express what they think. And those are, you may not agree with them, but they're at least valid to consider. Especially if there's some constructive criticism in there, like, hey, I'd really like you to do, I really like, let's say we're talking about this podcast, and someone writes out a long critique and says, hey, I like your podcast, I like what you do, can you condense it a little bit, because, listening to an hour is way too much for me. So, you put that into consideration and think, well, can I achieve what I want less than an hour? And how many people would that benefit? Is it just going to benefit this one person? But it gets you thinking, right? And it gets you thinking in the correct way to make improvements, because as an artist, you probably want to consistently and constantly improve. I mean, I would hope so. That's kind of the artist's journey, is to keep improving on your craft until the end of your experience as an artist. So it's okay to take the criticism, right? And you don't have to take any of it. You could just flat out ignore all of it and just do what you do, and that's fine too. But if so, who cares if you're getting ratioed, right? Who cares? One example I can think of recently, if you're in the video game world, Nintendo announced this new Switch Online program where you can get this expansion pack, and it's $30 extra a year, and you get to play like Sega Genesis games and N64 games along with whatever they give you already on the platform. Well, a ton of people thought this is way too pricey for what you're getting, and they didn't like it. And they ended up ratioing the Nintendo online program, so much so that it had to become obvious to Nintendo what was going on. And it's my understanding that Nintendo isn't fixing the pricing, but they're going to be adding a lot more stuff to their program. And they're going to be fixing a lot of the bugs that people have initially noticed and things like that. So it's the customer's way of telling them add more value by ratioing them. Otherwise, how else do you speak out? You can write a letter to Nintendo, but I think it works a lot better if a mass amount of people come in and just say, hey, we don't like this, and have an easy way to let people know about that. Now, I'm not saying there aren't people who get together in groups and just ratio people for no reason. You know, they just dislike the creator, or they have a vendetta because they see somebody doing something better than them and they want to destroy that. And fine. But you know what? That's the whole thing about like YouTube, is the dislikes still add relevance and add conversation. It adds to the overall arc of something, right? If you had nobody coming to watch your videos except for the 150 people that disliked them every week, that's at least 150 people that dislike them. And you know, you can start using that to your advantage and being like, I get 150 views a week, 150 dislikes. What is so bad about my videos? And you kind of put that out there, and that's going to get people curious, and people are going to come and tell you, hey, I think your videos are better than what is going on. You're going to create an audience out of that. You know, take what you have and use it. I've always been a proponent of this. Take what you have and use it. Like, I don't care if you're a musician, you only have a guitar and your phone. Record on your phone, play that guitar. Take what you have and use it. And that extends through everything. It's always guerrilla marketing, guerrilla musicianship, guerrilla everything. Like, you just consistently take your resources and use them. That's all it is to it. So that being said, what do you think about criticism about YouTube removing the thumbs down button? Is there something that I left out that I didn't think of? You know, do you want to ratio me for this? Hit that thumbs up button if you like this. If the thumbs down button is still there, go ahead and hit that. I don't care. Go ahead and ratio me on this. We're supposed to see them slowly disappearing in people's feeds, though. And I don't think it's going to like totally disappear. I think it's still going to be there, and we can see that on the back end of things, but like, you're not going to be able to see the number of dislikes anymore. You know. And I'm sure that's because, by the way, a lot of bigger places like Nintendo, certain news outlets, the government's website, these things are all getting ratioed pretty hard lately. And it looks bad, right? It's a bad look for people in authoritative places. You know, I'm anti-authority, so it's all fine. Like, you can go ahead and get rid of those authorities for all I care. You know, they're not authorities to me. But that being said, it looks like I would say that YouTube is valuing them enough that I think it's more towards what they're doing rather than helping the small creator. They're just using the small creator as a shield. So, anyway, well, like I said, I want to get in and out of these podcasts a little bit quicker, get the point across, and then find out what you're thinking. So please leave a comment. You know, share this if you think it's worth sharing. And above all, be sound. See you next week.